It started? Okay, I'll start. Good afternoon. No? Okay, good afternoon from sunny Brussels. Yeah, thank you for joining us for today's event, the Brussels Dissemination event for the IMMERSE 2020 project. Apologies for the late start. We had a technical problem, which we think is resolved now. So we should be streaming. So here we go. So the IMMERSE project is part of the H2020 Research and Innovation Funding Mechanism of the European Commission, and this has been a fantastic project over the last few years, mapping the socio-educational integration of migrant and refugee children in Europe. We will be talking about this in a little bit more detail in the coming hour. So a quick look at our agenda. I will first present the project itself, some of the key features of the project, and some of the key results of it in a quantitative way. In the middle, we are really excited to share with you a short presentation of some of the participating children that we've had and teacher who are stakeholders who were involved with our research and also our focus groups. And finally, I will hand over to my colleague Kate, who will go over specific activities with the children and the hub, which is an important part of our outputs. Very quickly, I would like to introduce also our organization. So Active Citizen Europe is a nonprofit based in Brussels, Belgium. We were founded in 2016 by myself and my colleague Kate. So I'm Farzana Islam and Kate Morrison. We started ACE because we it was just after the Syrian crisis, and we have a lot of background jointly in dealing with both development issues, social concern issues, and child inclusion issues, as well as an educational background. So Active Citizen Europe has been working in this area for a while now. So going back to the IMMERSE project. So this was a massive project. We had 11 partners from 6 different EU countries. And it's a project that took us through 5 years of research work. It was intended to be shorter, about 4 years, and COVID, of course, caused some delays in part of our data collection, hence the extensions. The project was spearheaded and headed by Comillas in Spain, the University of Comillas. We are also joined by several universities, which are research universities. And specifically, among the consortium partners, there are 3 universities that are specialized in migration and childhood studies, 2 public administrations with competency in migration and/or education, 3 NGOs working on child's rights, integration, migration rights and protection, us included, 2 companies that are experts in social innovation and stakeholder engagement, and finally 1 technology-based company specialized in digital transformation. The context for the IMMERSE project. So as you can see from this slide, between 2013 and 2017, we have had more than 2 million new migrants entering the EU zone every single year. Of this, 20% approximately are children. And as you can see, it also is a large number in terms of population. So it becomes quite important to consider the integration of these children who come to our shores and then enter the education system, which of course is mandatory across all countries. It raises specific challenges for the education bodies as well as for the children and, of course, everyone related, such as the teachers, those setting the policies in education and the like. The effective inclusion is very critical because they are sort of the linchpin on how the children are going to integrate in years to come, into their communities. And that, of course, has very strong repercussions for social, political, and economic outcomes. So the growing number of children arriving in recent years is what spurred us to reconsider and re-examine how best to integrate these children into our education systems and our communities successfully. A lack of integration can lead to significant political, social and economic problems. It entails potential costs and instability and erodes social cohesion. And studies have shown that the key to early integration, full integration is to do it early. So we think as soon as kids are in school and mingling within their communities, that is the place to do it.
Farzana, just to interrupt for a minute,
yeah.
I'm just going to quickly come in and see if I can fix the screen a bit because I've heard that there's maybe just a little problem with it. So I will come back to this slide, Belgium. Okay, bear with me 1 minute. I apologize for the interruption, but I just want to make sure that it's all correct. Yeah. Okay, here we go. I think that hopefully will be okay now. Beg your pardon for the interruption.
No problem.
Technical issue.
Our forte is working with integration, not with technology. Okay, so the Belgian context. The most recent figures we have are from 2021, and in that year alone, we had 26,000 asylum applicants, which was a huge increase from the previous year. And of course, the war in the Ukraine has also exacerbated the situation in terms of migrants moving into Belgium. Eurostat, which keeps the data across countries across Europe, also indicate that 12 to 16% of the school-going child population in Belgium are from non-Belgian backgrounds. And well, as you see also the Ukrainian influx, a third of them are also school-age children. So we obviously have great relevance in answering these questions for ourselves here in the Belgian context, how to best integrate the children. So moving on to the actual objectives of this project, the IMMERSE project, as it says, aims to enhance the socio-educational inclusion of refugee and migrant children in Europe in order to foster the construction of inclusive and cohesive societies. How do we do this? First of all, we really got stakeholders involved early on and kept them involved throughout the process. So IMMERSE incorporated all relevant stakeholders, which included the beneficiaries' children, but also their families, researchers, NGOs, policymakers, educators, learning institutions, and the like, in the co-creation and validation of a dashboard of indicators. The indicators we'll get to in a minute, but they're there to map the range and the degree of integration faced by children currently in this situation. This will lead to data that best reflects the particular needs and expectations of the stakeholders now at present. And IMMERSE researchers also collected and monitored data relating to these indicators from children aged 6 to 18 in our 6 participating countries. These are Belgium, Germany, Greece, Ireland, Italy, and Spain. And finally, IMMERSE as a team also developed innovative and ICT-supported solutions to carry out the data collection and the analysis and the data visualization. And this is part of our dashboard of indicators. Finally, of course, because it's a co-created project, we are working again from the ground up, it's not a trickle down process, and the identification of stakeholders and their engagement has been crucial throughout. In order to do this, the IMMERSE project identified four main pillars, and as outlined here. So defining research methods and tools. Here we are concerned with developing new technological solutions as well as co-creation methodologies to incorporate all relevant stakeholders. Next, incorporating children's voice throughout the process. So children here co-created and validated the dashboard of indicators through participatory research. And this is really a very central theme in our project. A children's research advisory group was also created to provide advice throughout the life of the project. This was done by one of our consortium partners. Next pillar, the collecting data representative of Europe's reality. The project will develop a digital platform aided and intended to aid researchers to collect, monitor, and analyze data that is gathered from these 6 different countries, and also to share resources from other relevant stakeholders, which you'll see later. And finally, influencing stakeholders for the adoption of recommendations, of course, for our policymakers. Here we are involved in producing and disseminating a series of good practices and tailored policy recommendations to improve the integration systems of refugees and migrants in Europe. Okay, so the co-creation, as I said earlier, is the main feature of the IMMERSE project. It was embedded throughout the entire process, start to finish. So what this basically means is that very early on, we identified stakeholders. A lot of this was desk-based research and also reaching out to our prospective communities. And based on this, we developed different focus groups and undertook a number of qualitative workshops in order to start to gather what are essentially the challenges, needs, and concerns of the stakeholder group, namely children and their learning facilities. It basically started with whittling down 50 indicators that was then validated through a process to streamline it down to 30 indicators, and they are now part of our dashboard. So the data collection, as I mentioned, it's largely quantitative, and across Europe, our consortium partners together gathered data points from over 30,000 children from this age group, 6 to 18, most of them electronically, but there were also paper and pencil versions available for those who didn't have access to computers and the like. There was also qualitative data that was gathered, which we'll present to you later on during this event. But this included workshops, focus groups, discussions, interviews, and the like. The data collection was intended to include children as much as possible throughout the target age groups of 6 to 18. Although in the case of Belgium, we did end up having more children participating from the older end of it, secondary school. In Belgium, the initial target size was set as 800, that is 800 migrant children. In the end, we had over 1,200 children who partook in the surveys. That included, of course, migrant and non-migrant children. And this was analyzed later on through the university at Cork. The data that we collected in Belgium was collected through schools and after-school settings. So again, the methodological underpinnings of the IMMERSE project, the key points really are for us co-creation and participatory engagement. We could not have arrived at the indicators and the dashboard without the direct input from children themselves. So this is very key for us. The identification and inclusion of stakeholders spans a very broad ecological framework. So when we say micro, meso, and macro, we're talking about really from the lowest level of on the ground stakeholders, children, their parents, their teachers, all the way up to education facilities directors, principals, social workers, and of course at the macro level, policymakers that are both local, regional, and EU-wide in their reach. So the key indicators that were validated took the input from all of these people, but as I said, it's based on the focus group, starting with the children themselves. Among our outputs, we have, of course, our website, and we would really encourage you to go and have a look at it online. As you see here, the information gathered is quite dense, and there are different elements to it. But essentially, the whole project outline is available here, including the methodology, the results, the recommendations, as well as a community section where we have been building communities of like-minded and relevant stakeholders, including researchers and educators from other institutions who are not involved with the project, but have been able to interact with us and to comment and share their good practices as well. So we do encourage you to go to the website if you haven't. This next slide here is just an example of some of the indicators that we came up with. So as you see, there's different levels, social connectedness, educational connectedness, etc. And these were the intrinsic part of the data collection and the survey questions that were then answered by the children themselves, as well as by some educators and families who participated. So IMMERSE, of course, shares publicly the results of all our findings of the last few years. The results, best practices, and communities, again, are on the website. So if you go to the website, you can log into a section called the Hub, which will be discussed in more detail shortly. And you will see that there are these specific areas where you can join to share resources as well as to borrow from what's already there. So again, we do encourage you to get on the Hub, which is available in different languages as well. So please do that. Finally, the results from Belgium in a nutshell. We had so well over the 800 that were target for the number of surveys completed. We had more than 1,200 data sets collected from children across Belgium. 92% of them were from secondary school. Unfortunately, it was more difficult to get hold of primary school students during the whole COVID era. We did have a good 8% of primary school students responding as well. And 1% who are not currently in education. This would be slightly older kids who are maybe in technical schools and or just completed. Of these, in Belgium, 22% were non-migrant children, 40% from students who identified as first-generation migrants, 38% who identified as second-generation migrants. And in terms of gender, it was a breakdown almost equally of female, 50%, male, 48%, and in another way, 2%. The results from the migrant background children was quite positive overall. So 60% of our respondents declared a high competence in either French or Dutch, depending on which school system they were involved in. It's a small majority, but it's a good start, we would still say. 1/3 of the migrant background children declared a medium competency, so there's still room for improvement, of course. We asked also how they felt themselves in terms of belonging within their communities and closeness to from a cultural perspective. And here the findings were quite interesting as well, because you see that there is a blend of identity here. So 58% of those participating in our surveys felt close or aligned with both their cultures of origin of their parents or their birth or their language or religion, as well as other groups of people, and other being broadly defined as the community they find themselves in here. This is the largest percentage across IMMERSE countries, where the average was 45%. So this does suggest that Belgium immigration policies have been working quite effectively. And this was very heartening news. Belgium has tried very hard to make integration a central theme for some years now in its education policies. So it's very encouraging and reassuring to see that the impact can be felt. In terms of gender variable, again, we have a 64% of girls, 55% of boys, and 47% of children defining themselves in another way, feeling close to people from both cultural perspectives, their own and their adopted ones. 13% feel close to their cultures of origin exclusively. So that would be indicative of 13% who perhaps are less well integrated within their communities here in Belgium. And 29% do not feel close to their cultures of origin, which is probably not surprising evolution, of course, as the generations go on longitudinally, and probably connected to the fact that most of the migrant background children respondents were born and raised in Belgium, as we saw earlier, second or third generation Belgian migrants. Okay, at a very personal level, we also wanted to know how the children felt in terms of belonging in their direct communities, which of course are their educational facilities or schools. So 35% are of migrant background children felt very strongly that they belonged in their schools. So they had a strong sense of affiliation with their schools and their school communities. This is below the average in the IMMERSE countries, which was 48%. 58% declare a medium level of belonging. 82% declared being very happy or quite happy in their communities, and only 18% felt not happy or not very happy. It's that number, of course, we want to bring down, but it's 1/5, so it's again fairly positive results being shown here. Among the barriers and facilitators of integration, bullying is one of the key components that comes up again and again, where 44% of children of migrant backgrounds have been bullied at some point. More girls than boys, as you can see. Excuse the 47%, I think that's for the other, identifying as other gender. But here's something interesting. Now you see, with regards to bullying, the percentage of native Belgian children who have experienced bullying is at 55%. And first generation migrant children, it's at 37%. So it's almost an inverse of what you might intuitively expect. This actually shows that fewer migrant children reported being bullied than native children. Now, this might be due to the fact that there's some segregation because they're in their language-specific programs, and in the which we call OCAN in the Dutch sections and DASPA in the French education sections. However, it's something that might be worthy exploring more deeply, because that wouldn't necessarily explain it completely. In any case, the numbers are telling. Second generation children report less bullying than native children. In terms of the support needed and gained in order to integrate into their communities, of course, language barrier is one of the principal challenges, understandably, both for migrant children and their families. So 60% of migrant background children in Belgium do attend some kind of language or learning support, and 45% get the language support in their schools. Or outside of their schools specifically. And of these, 56% of them are girls, 66% of boys, and 64% of those identifying in another way. In terms of extracurricular activities, here we include sports, music, and art. Belgium has a very extensive system of after-school activities in these areas that is available at fairly low cost to children of all schools. What we found is that 60% of migrant background children do attend some of their school or after school activities. More boys do, 65% of boys than girls, 54%, and even fewer in another way. This might be linked to affiliation with sports. And those would be basically the findings for Belgium. So in a nutshell, those are the results of the quantitative results of the integration in children of migrant background children in Belgium. I'm now going to pass over to my colleague Kate. She will present a bit later on the hub, but before that, we're going to introduce to you a very exciting input from some of our stakeholders. So stay in your seats, and thank you, Kate.
Thank you, Farzana. I'm just going to take this moment of pause to see if I can adjust the settings a little bit so that we can maybe see the screen a little bit better. I'm getting some feedback that the screen is not showing up terribly well. I'm not entirely sure exactly what that problem is, but I'm just going to quickly do this.
Do you need any help?
No, it's okay. I'm just going to put the display out. And I just want to do this. Try and see if this will work a little bit better.
Well, it's not really a successful live stream if you don't have a technical issue.
Yeah, that's true, yes.
Are we still streaming?
No, yes, we are.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just quickly trying to fix this because I saw that the screen was not terribly helpful. So what we want is our camera. What was it? Video capture device.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We want to make it a bit smaller.
At all.
Just a minute. Yeah, I'm sorry. and then I just need to do the audio. No, we didn't do audio. Display. 3 seconds.
Video capture and audio output.
Output. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks for your patience.
Yeah, let me just check. Can you check on my phone just quickly that it's still streaming? I'm sorry, everyone, for that minor interruption, but I just want to see that hopefully when we come to meet our guests that we can make sure that we can see them properly. So it's doing it there. Yes, we can see us doing it. Let's just see if this screen comes back up. Yeah, good.
Okay.
My apologies. Okay.
All right, Kate.
Okay, thank you, Farzana, for your great outline of the IMMERSE project. At ACE, we were very fortunate with all of the schools from Mechelen, Ghent, Brussels, Antwerp, and more, who participated in various stages in the IMMERSE project. From schools and after-school programs where we ran the workshops that Farzana just mentioned, to all the schools and organizations who ran the questionnaires, to the schools such as the one we are about to meet, who gave us the opportunity to run consultations with their students as the research results of the quantitative data were coming in. The teacher, Marie Noël, and some of her OCAN students who participated in IMMERSE were set to join us for the live event. And when that was moved online, they were very kind and sent us contributions about their experience of the consultation process, which we held in order to find out what the students felt could be done to improve their sense of belonging in their schools and in their communities. So, firstly, I'd like to introduce Marie-Noël Zabinski, the OCAN teacher from the Meertellig Atheneum Woluwe in Brussels, who will explain her experience of teaching OCAN classes. For those who do not know the terminology, I think Farzana alluded to this a minute ago, but the OCAN classes are dedicated reception classes for non-Dutch speaking newcomers. In French schools, the equivalent classes are called DASPA classes. In Flemish secondary education, pupils between 12 and 18 years undergo an intensive language immersion of Dutch for up to about a year to prepare them for mainstream schooling. So I'm very pleased to introduce Marie and to thank her for being part of this online event.
Hi everyone, I'm Mary and I'm 37 years old. Since a year now I'm working as an OCAN teacher, but before I was working as a regular teacher in a regular school. I was also working as a counselor, and I graduated as a psychologist and also as someone who studied pedagogical science. So I was actually always interested about everything that had to do with personal growth, understanding of society, cultures, everything that has a link with human beings. And it was always for me a passion to teach and to have a positive influence on students. But being an OCAN teacher, that's actually a really profound experience. It gives a lot of meaning. Because the OCAN students, they stand out. They are actually a little bit different from the other students. I do like to say that they are more mature, they are more grateful, and they need a mentor, someone to guide them. For me, it feels like a privilege to be able to guide them, or to try to do my best to be there for them and to help them in their daily challenges. So it's quite demanding because sometimes what makes them stronger can also be a vulnerability. But it's incredible to watch those students grow and to see them becoming individuals who feel better, who feel accepted, and who like their new home, Belgium. So they have a lot of talents, and after a while they are able to discover them and to develop them. So it's not only about teaching, it's actually, for me, about empowering them to become better individuals for themselves, so that they are more happy with the human being that they are becoming, and to find a place in the world, in the society for them, so that they feel good and that they can grow how they want to grow. So for me, I'm really happy if I can be part of their journey towards not just academical success, not just about the grades, but also personal growth and self-discovery. Because the role of an OCAN teacher, for me, it goes way beyond just the classroom. It's about preparing them to face the world with resilience, to be confident, and actually for them also to have a sense of purpose. But I would like now you to discover what they have to say, to present themselves. And I would like to thank them for who they are, and I wish them a lot of success. Because really, they do deserve it. Thank you, dear students. Bye.
Thank you, Marie, for sharing your experience of working with children from a migration background in Brussels. In February, ACE went to Meertalig Atheneum in Woluwe to meet with Marie's classes. From the initial data findings for Belgium from the quantitative research, we wanted to present some findings to the students and ask them what they felt would need to happen in key areas to improve their ability to integrate as newcomer students. So in both Dutch and English, we presented the key areas, and these key areas you can see on the slide in front of you were happiness in school communities, belonging in school communities, support from teachers and peers, trust in teachers, trust in the school system, and strategies to prevent and discourage bullying. The students were divided into groups, and posters with questions that were designed to elicit their opinions on how to improve these key areas were passed around. Each group had about 5 minutes to discuss and write down their ideas with each other, to discuss them with each other and then write them down for each question, so that by the end of the class, all the students had a chance to discuss their ideas. At the end, we had a feedback session about all of their ideas, and it was great to see such fantastic participation and interest in all of the topics from the students. So now I'm going to give you the opportunity to meet some of these students who were there, and they will present some of their ideas for our online event.
Hello everyone, my name is Salih. I'm 16 years old and I'm from Turkey. This is my first year in Belgium. I'm an ex-Okan student. I was in Okan previous year and I loved it. I had very good time with my friends. It was a very good time. So now I'm gonna talk about the events that we did last year with IMMERSE. So basically, they gave us a few situations and we listened and commented on each other's ideas about that situation and discussed them with our teachers. Now I will read one of the examples. So the question was, what change could help newcomer students feel more supported by other students? So my answer was, they can organize more events with Okan students, for example, going to the historical places or museums, or organize a tournament for Okan students. So I think these activities were very helpful and fun for Okan students to express themselves and their opinions. And I think that's the most important thing when it comes to being a foreign kid in a country. It felt very amazing when we see that our opinions are listened to, because we are in completely new country, like I said, and it's a new environment, and Okan students need to get used to this place and not feel like a stranger, so they can start a new and healthy life here, be successful, and be an example to the next Okan students, just like we will be. And I wanna say thank you for the activities that we did, and I want you to do this more with Okan students. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally from Turkey.
Hello everyone.
Said that they would. Hello everyone, my name is Rita and I'm from Ukraine, living in Belgium since 2022. I'm glad to be here and share my experience with you. I will give you information on how we can improve the support of other students for newcomers. The students said that they would trust the teachers if the teacher were polite and kind. The students also said that they would like the teacher to able to explain in another language so that they could better understand the topic or material. Absolutely, all students wrote that teachers should understand problems that are tolerant and not indifferent. In my opinion, a teacher should do such things to gain the trust of students as show interest and care, listen carefully, help students overcome difficulties and mistakes by being tolerant and supportive, support their learning efforts, and set clear rules. Thank you for listening to me. Bye.
Thank you, Rita from Ukraine. The next question that we ask the students is, what can a school community do to help improve happiness in schools? I give you a minute to just have a brief glance at the slide and see some of the ideas that were written down. As you can see, making school a little bit more interactive was quite high on the list of many of the students who answered this question. Then we asked, what do teachers need to better understand and what do they need to do to make it easier to trust them? And again, a bit of time just to read over. We can see that the themes that come out of this are friendliness, kindness, openness, and that seemed to come from most of the students that answered this question.
Hi everyone, my name is Taya. I'm coming from Ukraine. I live in Belgium since March 2022. I'm glad to be here to share some experience with you. I'll give you information about how we can prevent and end bullying. The students in my class wrote about conversations between students and teachers about bullying and other problems in society, and more communication between teachers and students to gain the trust of students. I completely agree with the above, but I would like to add my own ideas. It's regular training of teachers on the subject of bullying. The presence of a psychologist specialized in bullying is necessary in each school, and conversations between a psychologist and students once every 6 months or even more often on the topic of bullying. Teacher support for students, not only trust, but also support is very important when a student is being bullied. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Taya from Ukraine.
Hi everyone.
The last question that we asked was regarding school systems and trust, and we asked the students what changes could school systems make to make them easier to trust. Again, a lot of the themes that came out was about trying to make less of a divide between the teachers and the students, teachers being more approachable, other staff members being more approachable, and finding ways to talk through problems in the class. Okay, so we want to thank the entire OCAN class of Mirtalig Atenium Wallaway who participated, and thank you, of course, to Marie Noel for all of your help and enthusiasm in helping us get through this project. So I'd like to move on then. So the next thing that we want to talk about is a very important part of the IMMERSE project, which was the development of this online interactive digital platform as a place for all stakeholders working with migrant and refugee children to meet, share ideas, resources, and find out new information. Essential to this, of course, was the co-creation model and the child-centered approaches that Farzana already mentioned. We will shortly run through some of the great groups that you can sign up to in the IMMERSE Hub, which can be found on the IMMERSE website via the link on these slides. We think that it is fitting to start the presentation of the Hub with some exhibitions that are inside the Hub. These were exhibitions of poetry and drawings that were created by children from the participating IMMERSE schools from different consortium countries. So students sent us contributions in the autumn and winter of 2023, expressing their ideas about belonging and about the importance of language. Here you can see some examples of the, bless you, here you can see some examples of some of the drawings on the topic of belonging that were submitted from students across many different countries, and I think you'll agree that they're very beautiful. If you want to see more of these, of course, what you need to do is sign up to the hub on the IMMERSE website, and you will have access to hundreds of beautiful pictures just like this one. Likewise, we received lots of amazing poems for both exhibitions, and this is from the language exhibition, where we received some really beautiful poems in many different languages, in fact, which is fitting for the topic. And again, you can find these in the hub in the group for Immerse Yourself Again. So we would really encourage you to get online and have a good look at this exhibition and the beautiful artwork and poetry from the students. Okay, so also in the hub, there is a forum group called Immerse Conversations, where stakeholders can post and discuss information, ideas, and issues relating to the integration of migrant and refugee children and receive feedback from other hub members. So we would encourage you to, again, sign up and utilize this space. And you can see on the slide that there's an example of somebody who has posted some ideas about the vulnerability of refugee and migrant children. And there's an opportunity for people to comment and join into basically a conversation about this topic. So we would love to see more people in the hub making their ideas and their thoughts known. So yeah, we'd like to encourage you to join the Immerse Conversations section. In addition to that, we also developed in the hub groups for sharing educational resources and lesson plans, activities, games that are available in 7 languages across the 6 Immerse countries. In Belgium, you can find the resources in the 3 national languages, French, Dutch and German, as well as their availability in English, but they are also, of course, in the other consortium countries' various languages as well. So yeah, we would love to see you join up. If you join the hub, you can contribute your recommended resources and explain how you use them with your students. So you know, we would like to use this opportunity also to encourage you to sign up for the hub and join the online conversation on integration. The information is here, and I will just give you a minute if you need it to jot down the address for joining the hub. On this slide, it's at the bottom of the page. Okay, so we're drawing towards the end of the event, but we would like to bring to your attention that on Monday, the 6th of November, IMMERSE will be collaborating with the H2020 Refuge Ed project for a final dissemination event, which is at the European Parliament and online, and we invite you to attend. More information is available on the IMMERSE website news page, and you can also register at the again, the address that you can see on your screen in front of you now. So this brings us to the end of our event, and Farzana, who's going to come back into the frame, I think, Farzana and I want to say a huge thank you, first to those attending this event, to our IMMERSE partners, and of course to everyone who gave their time to the project, including but not limited to stakeholders from governmental bodies, NGOs, academic experts and institutions, civil society organizations, education authorities, schools and other educational institutions, teachers and students. So from both of us, thank you very much for your attention.
Yes, thank you very much. We couldn't have done it without all of your input, so we are very grateful. But please bear in mind that the whole idea is to make this a viable living plan of action, a call to arms, if you will. So please, all of you watching, do join the hub, as Kate said, do interact with us, do share things, information, experience, everything, because by building up a community of good practice and a community of educators and stakeholders, we can hope to share the message of the different tools we have to integrate children across Europe and build a really positive future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.